Welcome back to part 2 of day 11. I think it's day 11. Yeah. Of my Hansa Center trip. Okay, so I wanted to address my doctor appointment for today. We started by discussing my progress, and I had lots of questions. One of my questions was, I don't know if you remember, last week I recorded about there being ammonia on my heart. And I asked him today if that would give me a heavy-hearted feeling, a depressed feeling, because for years I just feel depressed all the time. I feel awful. I don't feel, even when I mentally recognize that something good is happening and I can smile about it, it's a mental smile. I don't feel happy or light or joyful. And so I asked him if that ammonia would give a heavy-hearted, depressed feeling, and he said, oh, absolutely. Like, he was all over that. He said, yeah, you would feel, and he named 3 descriptors. I forget the first 2, but then he said, and you would feel oppressed. And he said oppressed several times, and I was like, yeah, that's exactly how I have felt. Just heavy, depressed, oppressed, and just terrible. And so that was, I'm glad to hear that the physical cause of that is being taken care of, because I've noticed while I'm here that I don't feel that since I started taking the remedies. I don't feel that heaviness anymore. I feel a lot lighter in general, but especially in my heart. And so I'm just really happy about that, because I've just wondered, I'm like, what is wrong with me that I can't feel anything good? I can feel bad stuff, no problem, but I can't feel anything good. And so, I'll certainly continue to pay attention to the spiritual and emotional factors of that, but I was really happy to hear the physical factor involved is definitely being taken care of. So that was cool. Then I asked him about posture, because yesterday he said, I forget what we were talking about, but he said that I'm one of this group of people that there are some people who tend to have their head forward, they hold their head forward. So I was like, oh, really? I didn't know that about myself. So, posturally speaking. So, this morning I was looking in the mirror and I was trying to change my posture and figure out how I was supposed to stand. And I could tell when I pushed my head back, and it made my whole back go back and my shoulders. And I could feel something in my lower back that I was like, oh yeah, I couldn't do this before because of the way the slipped disc was affecting my lower back. And now my lower back, I can do it. It didn't hurt at all. But my upper back, then I could definitely feel ways that having the forward bent over posture was causing pain. But I also could tell ways that there was pain driving me to do that in the first place. So we talked about posture. And I said, I don't even know how to stand. And how do you get yourself to have the right posture? He said, if you stand against a wall and basically push everything back, push your shoulders back, push your head back to touch the wall, just stand there at least 5 minutes a day to sort of retrain your brain and your body to have a better posture. So I'll be trying that for sure to try to help with rebuilding things properly now. I'm looking at all the different questions I had asked. Oh, I asked him about fish oil. Fish oil is something that standardly just almost anybody across the board will recommend taking a good fish oil. But when he had tested my fish oil on last Tuesday, he said it really wasn't doing anything for me. So then I wasn't clear on what he all meant. So we talked about fish oil, and he definitely said it's something that, yeah, absolutely, it's a good thing for people to take. And then we actually figured out that my issue was I needed to quadruple my dosage of what I was taking. So anyway, we talked about that, and then emotional stuff, because yesterday there was a point where it's in the paperwork, stuff that you read about procedures for the day, that you're supposed to bring all of your remedies every day. Okay, so I just decided not to do that because first of all, I didn't see everybody doing it, so it didn't seem like it was that important. And secondly, I just didn't want the extra thing to tote around for no reason or for minimal reasons. And then yesterday, he was checking something on my liver, and he wanted the remedy. He said, "You have that with you?" I said, "No, I don't." He said, "Okay, we'll bring it with you tomorrow, and bring your remedies with you every day." I mean, he was totally nice. He didn't scold me at all. But because I knew it said, I had read somewhere that I was supposed to do that, and I purposely chose not to do it. I felt like it was like, by not doing what I was told, there was something inherently wrong with me, that I had like self-rejection, basically, issues and feelings of condemnation and excess responsibility and things like that. And I mean, for a couple of hours after that happened, I was seriously fighting that and struggling with that feeling. And I know that we had talked last week, my doctor and I had talked about the emotional aspects of all this stuff. So today I asked him if I'm supposed to be telling him when emotional things come up. But I haven't really had that many emotional issues. I've had some nighttime fears and like fear of violence, fear of being harmed while I'm sleeping, like just aloneness issues at night is really the only thing I've had for a few days, and it comes and goes in different severities. But I didn't have anything as overwhelming as that, like scolded, judged feeling. And so I thought it was relevant, so I told him, and I said, I'm like, I completely recognized it on two different levels, that mentally I was like, I know this is not a big deal, but there was something else inside that was really overwhelmed by it. So he said, I mean, we kind of laughed about it, how he wasn't laughing at me and I wasn't laughing at me, but we were laughing at how, it was something so simple that he said, and he said it completely nicely, and inside, like, what I heard for a couple of hours was something so much more destructive than what it really is or was. So he noted that, and he said that, some of the things we were going to do today were going to deal with emotions, and they did, but not directly. We didn't talk about my emotions. Okay, then we proceeded to him actually doing his work, and he did this thing with the magnet plates where I lay on my face, and he puts the magnetic plates, like one on my low back, one above my head, to balance the polarities and things. This time though, he added, and he also uses essential oils at that time, puts different oils on my back. But this time he used a laser. I don't know where he put it. He just said, I'm using a laser, so don't look up, because you can't look into a laser. So that actually sat there for a long time, longer than I usually do. And he would keep checking, but just let me sit there for a while. Then because another thing we had talked about were my pain levels. I kind of described pretty in depth what was all going on with my pain in my back and stuff like that. So he seemed to be focusing on what really, structurally and polar energetically wise, I guess, what was happening in my back. So he did those things for a while, and then he did the jackhammer I've talked about before. I don't know the real name for it. He said he kind of referred to it as it's similar to a jackhammer. It's where he goes up and down. He did it on my spine. Somebody else told me he did it on something else. I forget what she said. But for me, he does it on the spine. And it's, dealing with realigning the vertebrae and stimulating the bladder circuit, or working with the bladder circuit or something. I'm sure there's other things in there. Those are the things we've directly talked about. So he did the jackhammer on my back up and down, where I breathe differently each time. Then he did some actual, he was actually feeling in my back and doing some manual bone manipulation. He is a chiropractor. Most of the doctors here, or maybe all of them, started out as chiropractors. So, but it wasn't real. He pushed, and I was waiting for him to push far enough that my back would crack, because I felt like that would feel good, but he didn't push that far. He just pushed far enough till whatever he was doing, he did, I guess. He did that in several different places on my upper back. And then I turned over, and he did what was called sacred geometry, and that was for neural integration. I don't know exactly what that all means, but having to do with your brain and your eyes and light and different things like that. And the vibrations, all the vibrations, and how your body receives them and integrates them and things like that. So the sacred geometry, it was basically, trying to think. I don't know if you've ever seen like a welder's cap where it has the big, just has like a thing that holds it on the head, and then it has a big plate in front. It was sort of like that, not the big plate though, it was a band that went around the head and then had sort of flip up, sort of like flip up sunglasses, only there were little computer screens on there, and so I had to arrange them and fix them so I could see properly, and then basically just watched while different geometric shapes were on there, and that was supposed to be stimulating different things in my brain. And one of them was, he specifically said it was stimulating emotions, so we didn't like talk about emotions, but there was that visual stimulation of whatever emotional stuff he was measuring. So, and it was like screensavers. A lot of them actually, some of them were actual things that I've seen as screensavers, but it was just different shapes, different colors, all changing and rotating into different things. And I just would watch it, and he would do his bioresonance scanning while I was watching it, and he would, identify whatever. He actually didn't tell me today. We were talking about all kinds of other stuff, goofy stuff. We have a good time. I have a good time anyway. Just talking about other random stuff. I like my doctor. He's a cool guy. And so he actually didn't tell me what he was doing or what was deficient or anything, but he would check for the deficiencies or whatever and give me little remedies and move on to the next one. And the remedies that he gives me when he's doing that are like little nerds, candies sort of things. That's kind of, I've never seen them because he always just puts them directly into my mouth when I'm laying on the table, which is ironic. I was telling my mom, because my mom, a lot of times I'll give her something. I'll make something experimental, and I'll give her some, and she'll just eat it. She never asks me what it is or what's in it, and I constantly tease her that she should not do that. You should not just eat whatever someone gives you. So it's funny that, here my doctor is, open up, and I just take it. I don't ask. Not that I'm not curious, but I mean, there's a lot of there's plenty of stuff I do ask, but a lot of that stuff he'll tell me some of it, and some, he's told me enough that I know that mostly I'm not going to remember what he says, and I get the basic gist of what he's doing enough to not need to know the exact details. So, we did that for a long time, and then time was up, and it was time to go. So he said tomorrow we're doing something where he's going to hook something up, not hook it up, but he's going to put an electronic stethoscope on my heart, and then he'll be stimulating different things and seeing how my brain and heart are working together. So that'll be cool. So that's all for today. See you tomorrow.